Before Peter came into her life, Marina was part of another family. She and her first husband had been happy for many years, until he started having business problems. Marina described Fedor as a man who pretended to be a businessman. When Marina decided to leave, Fedor was left alone with a failing business and mounting debts. Their relationship fell apart, and no one tried to save it. Fyodor was too consumed with his failing business, and Marina didn't want to carry the burden alone, or perhaps didn't want to continue the relationship at all. Shortly after the divorce, Marina met Pyotr. He courted her, gave her caring gifts, and always supported her when she was unwell. Marina liked a lot of things about Peter, but she could not understand how he felt about his ex-wife and daughter, whom he continued to support emotionally and financially. Peter felt it was his duty to remain involved in their lives even though their marriage had broken up. Marina was upset that Peter devoted entire weekends to his daughter, often ignoring her calls. However, Peter later apologized, flooding Marina with gifts and flowers. Just 6 months after they started dating, Peter made Marina an offer, and she accepted it without hesitation. Compared to her ex-husband Fedor, Peter seemed to her a much better choice. Marina really wanted to start a family and thought that a child would shift his attention away from his past family. Unfortunately for Marina, she struggled with infertility for 6 long years. As Marina desperately tried to conceive a child, the tension in their relationship escalated into frequent quarrels. Peter became frustrated with Marina's unfounded accusations, while Marina was overwhelmed with emotion. "I'm doing this for us. I want us to have a real family," she exclaimed vexedly. "We're already a real family, honey," Peter tried to reassure her. Against the backdrop of a strong desire to get pregnant, Marina began to think of unconventional ideas on how to accomplish this. After much thought, she realized that she might need the help of another man. Mentally going through acquaintances, she settled on her ex-husband as a potential candidate. Since their divorce, Marina had followed Fedor's life and knew that he had overcome the crisis in which she had left him by building a successful business that appeared to be going strong. Confident that Fedor would agree to a meeting, Marina contacted him and received a positive response. Despite the fact that she had a concrete plan, she decided not to reveal it at once, so as not to scare him off. When Marina arrived at the restaurant for the meeting, she was met by a transformed Fedor. He was not at all like that defeated man with whom she parted many years ago. Instead of him, in front of her stood an attractive stranger, awakening in her unfamiliar emotions. The former spouses spent the evening in conversation as if the years of separation had never happened. From that day on, they began to communicate regularly on social media. Marina was flattered by Fyodor's attention and found herself increasingly drawn to him. Her desire to have a child with Peter began to wane as she became engrossed in her secret interactions with her ex-husband. They met in secret, spending time together away from Peter's knowledge. Peter couldn't help but notice the sudden shift in Marina's behavior, finding it puzzling and concerning. During one dinner, he gently broached the subject of their efforts to conceive. "Honey," he began softly, "have you seen the doctor recently?" Marina's reaction was immediate. She tensed up and appeared startled. "Oh no, not yet," she stammered. "Why? Has something happened?" Peter continued calmly, sensing her discomfort. Marina struggled to offer a coherent explanation for her lapse in visiting the doctor, whom she had seen regularly for the past 6 years. Peter interpreted her vague responses as an agreement to reduce their focus on trying to conceive, allowing Marina some relief from the constant pressure. He nodded slowly, observing her sigh of relief and relaxation. Although puzzled, Peter chose not to press the issue further. During a gathering with friends, Peter confided in them about his concerns regarding Marina's sudden change in behavior. He was troubled and couldn't make sense of it on his own. "Be careful," one friend jokingly warned. "She might end up bringing you someone else's child. You could end up raising someone else's kid." Initially, Peter vehemently defended Marina, insisting he trusted her implicitly. However, as he reflected on the situation, he realized that his confidence in her was beginning to waver. Peter was consumed by fear at the thought of Marina being involved with someone else. He cherished his wife deeply and dreaded the idea of losing her. After apologizing to his friends, he stepped outside the bar, lighting a cigarette and taking a deep drag to calm his nerves. As he exhaled, the door opened and Alexei, one of his friends, joined him outside. "Listen," Alexei began cautiously. "I don't want to pry, but if you ever need it, I have the contact of an excellent detective." Peter was taken aback. "Why? You and Rita seem perfect together." A sad smile crossed Alexei's face as he remained silent. Peter nodded in understanding. Initially, Peter struggled with the idea of surveilling Marina. Part of him felt it was a breach of trust, while another part couldn't shake off the nagging suspicion that she might be seeing someone else. He grappled with this internal conflict for a week until he received an unexpected call from an unknown number. The caller introduced himself as Fyodor, Marina's ex-husband, and requested a meeting with Peter. "Can't you tell me everything over the phone?" "There's no need for us to meet," Peter responded politely but firmly. "I'd prefer to discuss this face-to-face," Fyodor insisted. After some contemplation, Peter agreed to meet Fyodor at his favorite pub later that evening. Fyodor didn't waste any time and got straight to the point during their conversation. By then, Marina had confided in him about her plans to have a child, but Fyodor made it clear that he had no intention of being involved in her scheme. Marina begged and persuaded Fyodor to change his mind, and finally he brought himself to the point where he agreed to think about it. Instead, he decided to tell Peter about everything, citing a sense of male solidarity. In reality, however, Fyodor wanted to take revenge on Marina for the heartache she had caused him years ago. After a long discussion, they devised a plan to teach Marina a lesson. After strategizing, they split up. Peter went home, and Fyodor stayed in the pub and drank until he was completely intoxicated. Fyodor lured Marina to his country dacha, where she had never been before. She eagerly accepted the invitation, unaware of the trap that awaited her. During the trip, Fyodor casually mentioned that he reconsidered Marina's proposal to have a child. Rejoiced, Marina spent the road to the dacha with a radiant smile, completely unaware of the danger that awaits her. Arriving at the dacha, Marina was amazed by its design and praised Fyodor's taste in architecture and decor. With each passing moment, she regretted her decision to leave him more and more. As Fyodor led her upstairs, whispering promises of an unforgettable surprise waiting for her, Marina felt a shiver run down her spine. Opening the bedroom door, Fyodor led her inside. To her horror, Marina let out a piercing scream when she saw someone sitting in a chair in the corner. Looking closer, she realized with disbelief that it was not a stranger, but her husband Pyotr. Marina stood, stunned, with her mouth open, and her eyes darting between Fyodor and Pyotr. "Traitor!" she screamed, lunging at Fyodor with clenched fists. He gently pushed her away, causing her to stumble and fall on the bed. "Cheater!" she sobbed, her voice full of bitterness and despair. Both men were silent. The tension was palpable. Finally, Fyodor broke the silence, his words cutting Marina like a knife. "Did you really think I would let you manipulate me after what you did?" The tears continued to pour, and Marina turned to Peter, pleading, "Tell him it wasn't my fault." However, there was not a trace of sympathy or regret on Peter's face. Instead, he looked at Marina with a mixture of hatred and disgust, trying to understand how he could have been so blind to her deception. After the second divorce, Marina found herself forced to temporarily move in with a friend. Both Fyodor and Peter broke off all relations with her, leaving her feeling isolated and rejected. Peter even preferred to communicate with her exclusively through a lawyer, refusing to communicate with a woman who betrayed him. This refusal deeply hurt Marina, who sincerely believed that she wanted only one thing: a real family. Trying to dull the pain and humiliation, Marina became addicted to alcohol. She drank until she passed out, waking up in strange apartments with men whose names she could not remember. Despite all her efforts to move on and rebuild her life after the divorce, Marina was sinking deeper and deeper into despair and self-destruction.